alaikum. Upcoming class alert. Upcoming class alert. Yeah, you heard right. We got an upcoming class alert taught by Ustada Laila Nasheeba. So stay close, because listen, it's going to be good. This series is the series on the Jinn. Please, you're going to want to listen and take some notes. Streaming on all major platforms. Once again, taught by Ustada Laila Nasheeba. Streaming on all major platforms. Channel SunnahFollowers.
You got to have that certainty of faith. Most of the Muslims are going to look at you like you got three heads, because we're caught between two extremes. Either Muslims are extreme right, where everything is haram, or they're extreme left, where everything is lawful, because they have not learned the Sunnah. Like the Prophet Muhammad said, no matter how much a person memorizes how to sing that Quran, until they learn his Sunnah, they won't understand anything. They won't know the lawful and the unlawful. They won't know how to pray correctly. They won't know how to dress, how to bathe, what to do when they answer the call of nature, how to eat. So don't be intimidated with the reality. And the reality is, as the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam said, out of every 1,000 people, 999 of them are going to be in hell. That's the reality. So most of these people that's jumping up in your face, telling you that you're going to hell and that you're learning wrong, they are the ones that's the fuel of the hellfire. You got to keep that in your mind, especially when they're giving you no evidence. How can any human being on this planet today overrule what Atiyah said? They better go sit down, and they're going to say a woman? What type of nonsense is this? Because she's a woman? Where did Allah say that? Allah defended the woman who they slandered. Okay, y'all have to be careful of that. Keep that hadith in mind. 999 will make it to hell of those 1,000 you know. If you know only 10 Muslims, 9 of them are going to be in hell. If you know 20 Muslims, 19 of them is going to be in hell. Keep that hadith in mind and learn how to do what Allah says, which is walk away. When they come to you telling you that you're going to hell, astaghfirullah, sister, you learning wrong, astaghfirullah, a'udhu billahi, and all that crap, you just smile, and they got no evidence from Allah, no evidence from the Prophet or his companions. They telling you what some imam said, what some sheikh said. Just smile and say, thank you, bro, and turn and walk away. And take what they said and flush it down the toilet. Keep it moving. Life is short. All right. So we're going to speak about the Jinn and their strength and their knowledge. Yes, we do have human devils amongst mankind. We'll talk about them in another class. Okay. As we spoke about before, Allah has given the Jinn power and ability that he has not given to us humans. And Allah has told us of some of their abilities, such as the fact that they can move real fast. They're faster than we are. And again, as one of the kids brought up yesterday, one of the Jinn promised Prophet Solomon alayhi salam that he would bring this throne of Sheba to Jerusalem in a period that was so short that he would not even be able to stand up before that throne appeared. But another Jinn amongst them said, I will bring it to you in a blink of an eye. And Allah mentions this in the Quran. This is what Allah says. This is the dalil of what the kid gave you guys yesterday. Allah says, a steward of the jinn said, I will bring it to you before you leave your place, because I am strong and trusty. And then one with whom was knowledgeable of the scripture said, I will bring it to you before you blink your eye. And when Solomon looked, it was in his presence. And by the way, these are the ruins of Sheba. For those people who question whether the stories in the Quran are accurate, these are the ruins of Saba-Ur. You can Google it. These are the ruins of Saba-Ur. And many of the archaeologists believe that her throne was on the top right there, of that top of that mound there. And by the way, my family traces back to Saba-Ur, Arabs. The Arabic people originate from out of Yemen, from the 3 tribes of Saba. My tribe was Saba-Ur. That's the tribe of Bilqis, who was the queen of Sheba. All right. Also, Sheikh Atli's tribe, we all related. His tribe traces to Saba-Ur too. Yes. Probably Kareem's too. Most of us do. Okay, so there it is. That's the ruin. It's for those who question what we teach here. Also, so the jinn can move quickly. And we talked about how before Allah sent down the Quran, the first revelation of the Quran, he used to allow the jinn to eavesdrop on the angels. One of the new shahadas, I think it was brother, what's his name? Brother Dawood asked for this hadith. Well, first of all, brother, it's not just a hadith. The hadith is in Sahih Bukhari, but it's also a verse of the Quran. Listen to what Allah says in the interpretation of the meaning. And the jinn who used to listen to the jinn who listened, who heard the Quran, they said, we had sought the heaven, but found it filled with strong protectors and meteors. And we used to sit on high places to listen. But now if we go to sit to listen, we will find a flame and waiting for us. So Allah, those meteorites, falling stars, that's Allah flinging, having the meteorites knock the jinn down from eavesdropping. They go up to the 7th sky. The 7th sky. Remember, we talked about how there are 7 skies. Whenever you read the word heaven from the Quran, it translates in English to be sky, not heaven, because we think heaven is paradise. Okay, no. The jinn will sit below the 7th sky and eavesdrop on the conversations that the angels have. And the Prophet Muhammad speaks about this in the hadith. This is a hadith for brother, the brother that asked me. Abu Hurairah tells us that the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam said, when Allah decrees something in heaven, the angels move their wings in submission to his words, and they sound like a chain beating on a smooth stone. And when their hearts are delivered from the fear of Allah, they say, what did Allah say? For he is the one who is truthful, and he is the most high and greatest. And the jinn would sit below that 7th sky, eavesdropping. And then Allah would throw a meteor, and they would find a flame knocking them down, and they would take that knowledge that they heard from the angels and mix a bunch of lies with it. This is a Bukhari hadith. For the brother that asked, it's in Bukhari. I shortened it. It's a long hadith, but I shortened it just to give you the meaning here. So it's in the Hadith and also the Quran, the Surah of the Jinn. Take a screenshot of this. Okay? And again, Prophet Solomon, alayhi salam. Yesterday, someone said that the Jinn used to worship Solomon. When I was in the Zoom room for the new Shahadas with Imam Abdul Rashid, one of the new Shahadas, when I asked about the Jinn, one of y'all said that they used to worship Solomon. No. And I told you I'll talk about it today. No, they didn't worship Solomon. The Jinn were created to worship Allah. We don't worship no human being, no entity other than Allah. But Allah gave Solomon power over the Jinn as a punishment to the Jinn because the Jinn lied on the twins, those two angels, the twins. When Allah sent them to teach the people of Sodom after destroying Sodom, when Allah sent those two angels to teach the people how to live together as husband and wife, the Jinn took their teachings and made magic potions out of them and told the people that the angels, those two twins, taught them that. When Allah tells us in the Quran they lied, the angels never taught them that. And they also lied, the Jinn, and told the people that Solomon had a book of magic underneath his throne or something. So to punish the Jinn, Allah gave Prophet Solomon, alayhi salam, control over them. They had to obey Prophet Solomon, and he had a ring that he wore. Okay. And because with that ring, he was able to make them do whatever he told them to do. And Allah speaks about that. Listen to what Allah says in the interpretation, the meaning. And we gave him certain of the Jinn. This is Solomon. We gave Solomon certain of the Jinn who worked before him. And some of them deviated, because some of them deviated from our command. So we caused them to taste the punishment of flaming fire. And they made for Solomon whatever he ordered them to make. They built synagogues, they built statues, they built basins and boilers. So Solomon made the Jinn work the mines, building places to worship Allah, building places to hold the water and stuff like that as their punishment. So they didn't worship Solomon, but he had control over them. Okay? So that's that. I want to put that there, and you will find that in Saba, the Surah Saba. And also another thing about the Jinn can also communicate between locations and reach certain places the same way we use radios and TV and cell phones for that. Now, we have Ibn Taymiyyah, who was one of the early scholars. He tells us that a sheikh came to him and had with him something shiny and told him that a Jinn had showed up and gave him this glass. And they looked at this glass and told him that whatever what he wanted to know, they could look in that glass and tell him what was going to happen. That's, the crystal ball. And Ibn Taymiyyah said, they bring the speech of the one seeking my help to me and respond, and they would take my speech back to that person. Perhaps they were able to discover things like the radios and televisions of a long time ago. Okay, so they would use that crystal ball and say that they could see what was going on in other places of the world. And we still have people today who are devils amongst mankind, who use crystal balls and say that they can look in them and tell what's going to happen in the future or what's going on in other places. And the people get this information from their personal jinn. So this is still happening. So the jinn are able to travel fast. They're able to communicate and things like that. And also, as we spoke about yesterday, they can take on the different shapes of animals and humans. We talked about how, and you'll find that hadith in Sahih Bukhari, how on the day of the Battle of Badr, Shaitan took on the appearance of a man named Suraka. And he went to the Quraysh and promised that he would help them and they would have victory. And then when he saw the angel Jibril coming towards him on a horse with a spear, Iblis ran away. And Allah speaks about that in the Quran. You know, he says in the interpretation, the meaning, and when Shaitan made their deeds seem pleasing to them and told them no one can conquer you today because I am your protector. But when the armies met, and Shaitan saw the angels coming from the sky, he ran. And also Allah continues this verse and says the armies came in view of one another and he ran away saying, I have nothing to do with you because I can see what you cannot see. In other words, he saw the angels because the jinn can see the angels and the angels can see them. We just can't see them in their regular appearance. Okay, so that's the dalil for that. The jinn can take on the shape of humans and animals. They can take on the shape of any animal. They can take on the shape of a camel, a donkey, a cow, a dog, or even a cat. But generally, if they want to take on the form of an animal, guys, they take the form of a black dog. And that's why the Prophet Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam said that the black dog interrupts the prayer. And the black dog is the devil. So usually if the jinn want to take on the appearance of an animal, it's going to be a black dog. But they can also take the form of a black cat. You guys know cats are beautiful creatures. But if the jinn wants to take on the form of a cat, they're not going to take on the form of a beautiful cat like my Karen, who is a beautiful Turkish white Angora, or my Sammy, who was a beautiful sand-colored Maine Coon. They'll take on the appearance of a black cat. So that's where those myths about black cats come from, because the jinn can take on the appearance of a black cat. Okay, and why do they use black? Why the color black? Well, Ibn Taymiyyah said that the reason that they use black is because black represents the power of the heat. This is Ibn Taymiyyah's view. But a black cat or black dog is what they normally take. Black represents power for the jinn. And also the jinn take on the forms of snakes. They can take on the form of a snake or a rat, a mouse, and appear in front of us. They can take on the form of a cockroach and appear in front of us. But snakes is something that they like to do. If they're going to take on that type of animal, it's normally a snake. And that's why the Prophet Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam has forbidden the Muslims from killing snakes that they find in their houses, because that could be a jinn passing through, a good jinn passing through. And this is from the authentic hadith. This is also Sahih Bukhari. The Prophet Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam said a group of jinn have moved into Medina and they have embraced Islam. So if you see any of them, you see a snake in your house, don't kill it. Warn it to leave 3 times, and it'll leave if it's one of the believers. But if it doesn't leave, then that's when it's a devil, and that's when you kill it. Okay, this hadith is in Sahih Bukhari. You know, so normally if the jinn are passing in through us where we live, they'll pass through as a snake. Okay? Also, the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam said, do not kill the snakes because the jinn take on this form. The only snake that you should kill is the one that has 2 streaks on the back, because those are the ones that are evil. They cause miscarriages. They'll take away your eyesight. So if you see a snake that has 2 streaks on the back, then kill it. And these type of snakes do not live in America. I just want every Muslim here to know. These snakes do not live in America. They live in the desert of Saudi Arabia, that part of the world. They don't live in this part of the world. So don't think that some jinn is in your house trying to take your eyesight because it's got streaks on its back like this. This is not the kind of snake. Okay? So does this mean that every snake is a jinn? Well, the Prophet Muhammad answered that. He says snakes are the forms of the transmutations of the shape of the jinn, in the same way that the apes and pigs are transmutations of the tribe of Israel. Remember the story of how Allah turned the people of Israel into apes and pigs as a punishment? Well, the same thing with the jinn. The jinn were turned into the shape of snakes as a punishment. That's what this hadith is talking about. So that doesn't mean that every single, snake, well, some of them, they can be a jinn, but not every single one is evil. Okay? But again, what I want y'all to remember is that type of snake does not live in North America. That type of snake does not even live in South America. That type of snake can be found in Saudi Arabia, that area, and the Middle East. That type of snake is found in the Middle East. It's not found in this part of the world. Okay? And also, we all have a jinn assigned to us, and our Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam warned us. He said, verily, shaitan flows through a man like blood flows through his veins. Okay? So we're going to always have to be on guard against our personal jinn. Our personal jinn lives in our heart. When we're asleep, he moves to our nose. But when we are awake, he hovers around in our heart. He knows our strengths. He knows our weaknesses, and he's always whispering, giving us bad suggestions to do bad things. We also have this hadith from Safiya, who is one of the wives of the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam. She said the Prophet was doing itikaf in the mosque, and I brought him his cloth, his loincloth, and we talked for a minute, and then he walked me home. And as he was walking me home, we passed by 2 men. And when the Prophet saw them, he quickly said, I am with my wife Safiya. And they said, oh, Prophet of Allah, we're not suspicious. We would never think bad of you. The Prophet said, hey, shaitan runs through the human like blood runs through the human's vein. And I don't want your jinn to cast some evil suggestions to you to make you think something bad. So our personal jinn never sleeps. Our personal jinn is always hovering around in our heart. He knows our strengths. He knows our weaknesses. And he is always there to try to put bad thoughts into our heart, to get us to do bad things.